Lockjaw and Crystal bought it for the Fantastic Four. Does that fit? There's an argument to be made. So my association with Crystal, and I know she's part of the Inhumans, but my association with Crystal is Johnny Storm. That's simple. She was the first real love interest for Johnny Storm. The first one that actually stuck. The first one that had any actual near significant meaning. And one that actually gets referenced later on in books as you go. Oftentimes there are love interests that kind of either they make a dent and they get referenced often, or they don't make a dent and we never talk about them again. Look at Peter Parker. There's character after character after character that Peter has dated, but only a few actually get referenced on the regular. That kind of makes the difference between forgettable character and memorable character. They can't all be memorable characters. Just look up a Ladies of Peter Parker list, okay? And you will know exactly what I'm talking about. The common person probably knows 4 of them, maybe. And that's depending on how many movies and series they've watched, how often they jump in and out of the comic books, and whether or not these characters are ever mentioned in that context at all. Such as, arguably, Betty Brant being one of his actual girlfriends. But after the fact, she was just kind of pushed into the background. Not that she became a non-character, because there's a lot of stuff that happens with Betty as you go on, but nothing that really ever harkens back necessarily to the fact that her and Peter were a thing. They just kind of drop that and move on. I don't feel like that necessarily happens with Crystal. Now, a little more of an argument. I don't have Lockjaw. I like Crystal for what it's worth. And I think that she'll look great with Jonny. I thought that this looked like a good pack. And boy, this sucker has some heft. This feels heavy. So, I fought with myself on this one a little bit as to whether or not to hit the button. Do I actually want it? Am I lying to myself? Is this something that I'm just like a FOMO? And the more I fought with myself, the more I kind of came back to it over and over and over again. I really do want a Lockjaw. And I really do want Crystal. In fact, I even found myself going back and reading early, because I started buying the Epic collections of Fantastic Four. And maybe that is why she's so utterly fresh in my mind. But she's mentioned even as far as not, how do I put this? I was still hearing mention of her or reading mention of her in the comics, not but like even 2 years ago. I remember there being a situation taking place where they specifically mentioned her and the fact that she dated Jonny. And I think she was even in one of those books. I can't remember offhand. I'm having a hard time kind of falling back, but I do remember it. Everything about this, at visual, I like. I also like that it ties into my Fantastic Four. I also like that it puts a love interest on the shelf. I feel like it really completes the set. And I plan to kind of put her in the group with the original, the old style Fantastic Four. I feel like it's all justified. I feel like it works. I don't have any regret about this right now. But I haven't opened it. So I guess the big question now is, I know I wanted it. Was it worth the want? Let's figure out. I did have a question before I even started. It's a minor question, but it's a question. Why the closed box? Now I opened it, plastic on the inside. Why no window? Like this doesn't open. There's no display window or anything like that. I mean, it's a good box, and you know me, it's not going to matter one way or another. I'm going to throw this box away. But it did make me wonder, is there a reason that this is like a closed box? Is this just something that we could expect from the Hasbro Pulse? Then again, this isn't Hasbro Pulse. I got mine from Big Bad. So it's not even like the Dragon Man that's coming out, which, by the way, I did order Dragon Man. I don't know. That really makes me wonder, are we just going to see big characters in boxes now? And is that bad? In fact, I'll answer my own question. It is bad for in-box collectors or people that like to set their collection room up like a little toy store. Like where they literally buy the racks, so they put up the stuff on the wall and they put the pegs up to allow for the toy store feeling. If that's something you're into, then this is bad. Whatever, let's look at her. And here we are. Well, first things first. Crystal. She looks good. She's got a fantastic face. Like it really is. It's done very, very well. I have no reason to dislike it. The secondary head, which she absolutely needs, is also very good. The face is absolutely solid. To me, that looks about right. I have no problem saying that's Crystal. I love the hair and everything, though I wish it had more give. It doesn't, and that is important because a character problem I'm seeing right off the bat. First off, this is again an old body. Is there a reason that we went through the trouble of designing the new female body for Black Widow? And then all these other characters that are coming out after Black Widow are not following suit in the new engineering that was designed for the Black Widow. Is there a reason that I'm unaware of that we are not doing that? Because I am legit wondering at this point. If I was to call out my favorite line, say Motu. That is the female body they use. There's new parts on every single one of them, so they never quite feel the same. Case in point, still pretty much the same scale, and all the way back then, still pretty much the same scale. These are the designs of the female bodies, and for what it's worth, the female bodies get all the same attention of detail and movement that we get from all the males. I've yet to open a female in the line and think, why doesn't she move like the male components? It just feels right. Everybody pretty much feels on par, like they all got the same amount of attention. So it does bother me that we're still not doing it. Now, rant aside, because we're gonna move from the rant here, okay? That's just something I wanted to bring up, and you know that my show is more like a podcast, just we're looking at a toy, but we're having an excuse to talk about toys and fandom. That's why we're here. So sometimes these little tangents are gonna come up. So I don't dislike her, but I do have to wonder what is going on. And I realize that figures have a long standpoint. Sometimes a planning will be 3 years before we see the actual finished product. I know that. I get that. I understand that. But how long ago was Black Widow? Where are these body enhancements for the other characters? I really want to know. And it scares me with the female characters the most, because as we continue to put this body out over and over and over and over, are we running into a situation where down the road we're just going to have to rebuy every single girl on the shelf, and we should see it coming? You get what I'm saying? Like, are we going to reach a point where they finally start using that body and reproducing? And we know they're going to do that. So there's always a chance that come a couple years down the road, I'm going to be rebuying her just because the better body. But all of that aside, because that's just kind of an offhand rant, she's fine. She does work. And I do like the fact that they gave us a second head, because her hair is pretty extreme. I like her hair, by the way. I really do like her hair. But saying that I'm spoiled by what Jada does now. Oh, and hey, Jonny. Look, she has really, really poor head movement. But we could pop that head off and put the other one on. I swear we can. There we go. There, I got it. And now she can look way down. She can kind of look up. She can easily turn her head to either side. And she's got like this effect, like she's in movement, which is really cool. I like it for what it's worth. It's solid. It puts all of that hair to the side. But it also enacts the idea that maybe we just should have had more flimsy hair on the girls to begin with. It is just another thing to look at in terms of Marvel Legends that is still a problem in the line. But I like that we got this extra head, because now we can actually do a couple scenes where she's standing there with Jonny and a couple scenes where she's actually in fighting with Jonny. And to put that into perspective real quick, I like this effect. And maybe this has been done with others. I don't know. I don't have a figure on the shelf that does this. But we can pull the wrist, right? And then you put this on here. Like this. See that? So we get that on there. And then we put the hand back on. And now the fire kind of looks like it's coming out of the palm of her hand. That's how they got that effect. And I do think that for what it's worth, it works. Because now we can kind of push that down, get it on the hand. Gonna bring it out like this, maybe. I think that it works. It's got its issues, because really this is the way that you're ended up having the figure look constantly, or they've got to have their hand out or something like that. It doesn't really allow for too much movement off that, because you can't really go like this. It doesn't go, you see what I'm getting at? You can't, that's not really a possibility, because the way the effect works, it does kind of lock you into holding the fire this way. It works. It's a neat effect. I've never seen it, but it's going to only loan itself to very specific photo opportunities, and that is it. So maybe a fail on the effects, to be fair, because at this point, yeah, I could set up an action scene with her like this, but where she's got the fire, it's only going to be like, you know what I mean? So it's a little rough, to be fair. But that all being said, for what it's worth, it works. There are issues to bring up with her build, but nothing too extreme. Otherwise, the body that they're using is a relatively good female buck for what it's worth right now. We could do something like this, where she can literally be here, hands on hips type of thing, for just a kind of easy little dynamic pose. But let's see the star of the show, okay? Let's check out Lockjaw. Now, Lockjaw is pretty much almost a slug, if you want the truth of it. He gets to be articulated for what it's worth. He has paws that go up and down. His legs do move, so I guess you could get him literally standing up on his hind legs. There's movement here and there. His head does move. It turns. It doesn't really look down. It can kind of look up. And the jaw is, so the two decisions on the dog are made by a jaw that comes off, that goes onto the figure. Come on. There. And it works for what it's worth. The effect does work because he's a smashy face dog anyway. So this seam is kind of somewhat hidden because of the kind of dog that he is. Now, that being said, let's put his front legs on. For whatever reason, they were not attached in the packaging. They were left out for you to put on. I don't know 100% why, but they were. So we can have Lockjaw standing. There he is. He's standing up. And for anybody that's curious, him's a good boy. Look at him. There he is. And right now he's teleporting. So we did get, it's very easy. You just pull that out. And there's another little tuning fork that goes in place here. And there we go. Now he's not using his powers. Now he's just big old puppy dog. And in terms of be a big old puppy dog, we can make him sit. You gotta pull the back legs. So you pull that leg, and then these are the two back legs that you put on. Right there. Right there. Now he has sitting legs. So if they've done this right, you should be able to get him into an actual sitting position, and it shouldn't look, hopefully it shouldn't look awkward. That's the idea here, is that these legs will be designed in a way which will allow for him to just actually look like he's sitting, and I'm actually having trouble with it. Did I put them? No, I've got them on the right. Maybe I didn't. No, I've got them on the right legs. So, okay. I'll admit, there's, that foot is flat like that. And then this foot is flat like this. That's a weird sitting position there. Is that, are you supposed to have your legs that far apart for the sit? Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not overly thrilled with Lockjaw. He's giving me problems. See, there, I got that flat. Now I got that one kind of flat, so that one's kind of flat. Let's move the tail here. Put the tail up. Oh, do I got it? This paw is up still. I don't know if mine is, no, it doesn't feel like the plastic has been moved. It feels like he's almost supposed to sit like this, which seems to feel weird to me. But I think, did I get it? Bring your head down a bit. Having troubles here. I think I got him. I think I got him sitting. There. It's awkward, if you want the truth of it. I don't know that I'm overly... I don't think that this... Because I know what the idea here was, but I don't know if this idea actually fixed it to make him sit in the way that they thought it was going to fix him. I really don't. But he's cute. For something that's just going to sit there, I don't know that I'm mad. But this guy did cost real money. So, I know there's another Lockjaw, and I'm pretty sure he costs a lot by now, so maybe this was still better. Maybe this was still the better way to get one, but I have to say, I'm curious if it would have made more sense for them to look at G.I. Joe, who's already making fully articulated animals that don't seem to have the same problems that I was experiencing. Like, on a fully articulated animal, like in G.I. Joe, I could have brought the legs up, put the paws down, and maneuvered him in a way, but these are like statue legs that bend somewhat, so there's a very specific way that he sits, and that's it. You don't get other sits, you get that. And you also don't really get, like, a laying down thing. You know what I'm talking about? Like, for instance, if you were to go back and watch my review, Kicking You Back to Motu, if you were to watch my review on the Adam and Cringer pack, that's the way to do it. And if you were also to check out the review of Snake Eyes and Timber, that's the way to do it. Those are animals done right. And, you know, are the lions not allowed to communicate? Is there a reason that the G.I. Joe line is producing massively beautiful articulated animals? And for some reason, the Marvel line, the Marvel Legends line, gives us a statue dog, like a mildly animated statue dog. Is there a reason that's happening? I'm legit wondering if there's something, because even if we were to say, oh, well, there's some sort of written rule that you know, certain lines, they can't use each other's properties, so like you can't just take all the bodies and everything that have already been made for the Marvel Legends and then transfer them over to G.I. Joe. You can't do that, and you can't do vice versa. There's something in the written contracts that say we can't do that. That's fine. Can we not at least take engineering cues from the team that's already made dogs work and make the dog work? Is there some reason we can't do it? Because I would like to know the reason. Like, legit confused about the reason. But, I feel like, let me say this. For me, this is fine. It's not going to hurt anything. I have my complaints, but I think she'll look great up there with Jonny. And I think Lockjaw going up there along with the Fantastic Four is going to look fantastic. I know fantastic is a word that I use, okay? I am not doing that on purpose, but it's starting to feel like I am. But once they go up there, and I think they're going to get their own shelf, actually, because I made an X-Men shelf. And now that I have an X-Men shelf, I think that I'm going to clear out the next shelf down, and I think that's going to be a Fantastic Four shelf by itself. Because I really feel like the Fantastic Four, as they release things, I'm probably not done with them, and they will expand, but they'll never go too far beyond the four. So I know that they'll fit on the shelf over here, and I think I'm going to be doing that. I don't know that 100% yet, but I think so, and I think she will look great alongside the Fantastic Four. So for me, this is a fine buy. I would argue maybe a little bit overpriced, because I would argue that the flame effects, I wanted them to work a little differently. So the effects, on a personal note, aside from maybe doing one or two things here and there, kind of suck. Like, there had to have been a better way to do the effects. They kind of suck, and I feel like I'm not going to get a lot of photos of those effects. But otherwise, Lockjaw is fine. She's fine. For me, this is going to go on the shelf and it'll work out. I don't know if I would say the same thing for other people. Such as, do you already have a Lockjaw? This one might not be for you. Maybe. It's not a bad Lockjaw. If you don't have one, it's certainly worth it. One could argue maybe this is a little overpriced for what it is. It's just the basic female body buck that we've gotten over and over and over again, with an extra head, two effects that don't necessarily do anything, and the dog that's pretty much a statue, stand up or sit down. Okay. Make your own determination on that one. For me, it's fine. But I've said this multiple times. You don't need to collect like I do. I don't need to collect like you do. Ever. But when I get new things, I like to talk about them. This is how I'm seeing it for myself. And for myself, I can easily justify this. I could see why other people would not be able to. And I wouldn't be surprised if I found some reviews. And that's another thing too. I try to kind of avoid reviews before I look at stuff, because I really want to get my first real impression. I wouldn't be surprised if I went and looked at a couple reviews and found out there are people that probably don't like this, that probably got it thinking it was something, and then probably got to looking at it and ended up not liking the dog or something like that. It would not surprise me, because there are some problems I see, but I think it'll work out for me. Anyways, that was it. Crystal and Lockjaw added to the shelf, and I'm going to get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.